Hello everyone, welcome to the Ichimoku.co Daily Futures Market Review for the trading day ending Tuesday, November 10th. Well, firstly to gold futures, and here we saw very strong selling in the recent past, the market taking out the important 1100 level of previous support and trading down through this yellow highlighted zone of previous support, the market bouncing off there in the last couple of occasions that we tested down to that area. 3 days ago we traded through there in a very decisive manner, a very large black body candle. Today we've seen the second day of a spinning top type candle denoting indecision in this market, and it suggests that the strength that the sellers had in this market previously is no longer there. Now the problem for the buyers here is that we haven't seen any strength from the buyers. So on the basis that we've seen a weakening in the selling, yes, there is potential for a change of trend to the upside, but certainly the response from the buyers here has been rather weak, and I would have expected, after seeing such strong selling here, that we would have had something of a half decent retracement, at least testing up to around the round number 1100. With the failure of the buyers to come into the market, and it is still early days, but with the failure of them to come into the market, it does suggest that the sellers certainly may still be the stronger party in this market, and they're just taking a bit of a breather, testing around this support around the 1084 level, and they may be building for another test to lower levels. What we need to do is watch this 1084 region. Strong bearish activity down below there could see the market easily trading down to 1075 or 1072. Now still, we can't ignore the formation of the indecision in this market, and it does suggest that there still is potential for a change of trend to the upside, and if we do see that change of trend, we certainly could start to find resistance coming in around the bottom of this highlighted zone, or around the 1100 number, or certainly anywhere up to the top of this highlighted zone to around the 1114 area. Now in terms of Ichimoku, we do have a bearish market in all three time frames, and that Tenkan Sen is pointing down very sharply, reflecting strong downside momentum. That suggests that if we do see the market retrace back towards that Tenkan Sen, it is likely to hold as very strong resistance for this market, and then we're likely to see more selling coming in. Interestingly, the Kijun Sen has started to go flat. Very often when we see a flat Kijun Sen, we see price action attracted back towards it, and the market is looking a little overextended in depth away from the Kijun Sen. So we are set up for a retracement here, but we have to ask the question, why aren't we seeing the buyers come back into this market? Moving next to wheat futures, and some solid selling continuing in this market for today's trading. The previous day we saw a very large black body candle taking out important support areas at 516.50 at the Tenkan Sen and the Kijun Sen, and for today now trading through that round number 500, which very often holds as an area of support or resistance, a very important number for this market. Taking it out in a bearish manner, and the bearish close below the Ichimoku cloud suggests that we have the market potentially transitioning into a strong bear phase in the longer term time frame. But what we want to see to confirm this trading below the Ichimoku cloud now is some strong follow through in a bearish manner. Now with the strong support here at 488 and the market bouncing off there, when we see the loss of commitment as evidenced by the shadow around this area, there is some doubt as to whether we are going to see that follow through. But if we do see a strong bearish breakout down below 488, and I think I'd like to see the market test down below this previous swing low around 483 in a bearish manner as well, we could then see the market eventually trading down to 466. Next to corn futures, and just as with wheat futures, we've seen a strong selling candle here today, another black body candle, but this one here is more bearish than we saw with wheat futures, with a decent extension to the size of the range, so the sellers are eager, but also a decent extension to the size of the black body, suggesting that we've had a more solid build of momentum in terms between the open and the close. The only problem here for the sellers has been the loss of commitment down below the 359 level of support. And this is an area where we've seen strong buying coming in off recently. So watching very closely this area, we have seen the sellers continue with control. It's only a fairly moderate amount of control, where we've closed just below the midpoint level. But the solid build of momentum here with this largish black body suggests that build of momentum may see the market trade through that area, but what we want to see is the market close in a bearish manner down through there. In terms of Ichimoku, we do have a bearish market in all three time frames now, and this suggests that if we don't see the market trade down through this area now, the likely scenario is that we retrace either back up to 367 or back up to around the Tenkan-sen around 370, and then we see the sellers come back into the market and trade down to lower levels. Next to the bonds, the 30-year US bond futures, and here we're seeing a change of trend today, a candle that's made a higher high and a higher low, and that was off the back of the market the sellers losing commitment down below the 151.29 level. This has been a very important level in the recent past, and we've seen very strong reaction to the upside here from the buyers off this level, and the change of trend here suggests a possibility of that. But here we see formation of a candle today where the sellers have closed with control and the buyers have lost commitment above 152.19. Moving forward, 152.19 is going to be an important area. I'd like to see a bullish close above there if we are going to see the market test to higher levels, and there still remains a possibility of the sellers coming into this market off the back of the sellers closing with control here in this candle, and 151.29 has held as strong support for the past 3 consecutive candles, and a strong bearish close down below there could see the market trading down to 150.28. That would be in line with the market being bearish in all three timeframes. One thing to watch here is the depth of price action away from the Tenkan-sen. It is looking a little overextended, as well as from the Ichimoku cloud. And if we do retrace back towards the Tenkan-sen, it is likely to hold as very strong resistance for this market. We are seeing the Kijun-sen start to turn flat, and that suggests a possibility of a change or of a continuation of the trend to the upside. So we will be watching 152.19 very closely as resistance, and watching how the market reacts around that level once again. Next to the S&P 500 futures on the hourly charts, and here we saw for the trading day that has just finished, the market rallying early in the session, finding resistance around the middle pivot point level, then selling off to trade down through the Tenkan-sen indicator, giving us a bearish market in all three timeframes. But a lack of follow-through didn't see the market develop down to the first pivot point support level. We then hovered around the Tenkan-sen, finding resistance around the Kijun-sen, breaking out through there to find resistance once again at the end of the trading day around the middle pivot point level and at the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud. For the new session that has opened, we are trading just around the bottom of the cloud, finding some resistance there and potentially some support to come in around the middle pivot point level at 2073, and then down at the Kijun-sen and Tenkan-sen around 2071. If we can breach through there in a bearish manner, we could easily test to the first pivot point support level 2068, possibly down to the second around 2059, even the third down around 2044. Is not an impossibility. With the market trading below the cloud here, it does suggest that we still have that bearish bias in that longer term time frame. If we see the buyers coming into the market, we will have to trade through the cloud to change the trend in a longer term time frame. In the next hour or two, it moves just slightly lower down to 2080, and at the moment it is very close to the first pivot point resistance level around 2082. A solid bullish breach up through there could easily see the second pivot point resistance level at 2088 tested.